Like the video.
Yo, have you ever actually thought about the broader implications around the chunin exams? Like, for example, there were a few different ways the Leaf could have known that Gar had the One Tail sealed in him, and probably did, which is probably why Team 7 was even allowed to participate in the chunin exams in the first place. I mean, think about it. The Leaf has two very extraordinary sensory families in the Hyuga and the Yamanaka. Why wouldn't they just have the best sensory ninjas in the village monitor the incoming traffic just to make sure no suspicious or suspiciously powerful chakra signatures enter the village? At least unknown. And the Sand team had a pass to be there, so they knew Gara was there at the very least. Why not keep our tailed beast as close as possible just in case? And seeing as Naruto was the one who defeated Gara, it was a perfect plan. Oh, and Gar definitely killed several people outside of the test from a multitude of different villages and is still allowed to take the test. Also, it's said that the exams only come around every 3 or so years, which means it makes perfect sense that there would be little to no rookies ever taking the test. Because a rookie is just someone in their first year of being graduated from the academy, which technically makes them a full-fledged ninja, but they would be up against, at minimum, ninja 2 to 3 years older and more experienced. And we can't use it as a true metric because both Jiraiya and Naruto are a special case, but 3 years in Naruto's journey was the difference in him being mid-Genin tier to low Jonin tier, which, even if you want to lessen that for a normal person, you're looking at a low Genin against a low to mid-level chunin at best. Not to mention other villages are sending Genin who don't carry the same standard and may be tens of times stronger or weaker just because their village has less ninja or just more power per ninja in the case of the Leaf Village. And let's do a little flip here. Let's say the chunin exams were held in the mist. I don't think nearly as many Leaf teams would have been allowed to participate, and on that same note, it's weird that most villages probably sent 2 or 3 teams and none of them made it past the written exams, because the Force of Death was basically just the prelim cast plus Kabuto, and the rest of the teams we see either die or are just sabotage teams, which again, the Leaf had to have known about or either put them there, or maybe they just let them slide, because half of the teams we see in the Force of Death weren't even interested in the scrolls, and the ones that were only interested in the scrolls. Like, Team 8 acts like they're gonna go and thwart other teams' plans, but they're one of the first groups to the tower, so unless they just got anybody they came across on their path, it seems like instead of going after other teams, they made a beeline for the tower after they got their scrolls. And the Sand team is there first. If I'm not mistaken, they've been there a whole day before Team 8 arrived, which means either the Sand team went straight for the tower and just so happened to be lucky enough to encounter another team with the scroll they needed and didn't really encounter anybody else, but I don't think so. So how did they get to the tower so fast? Well, they were the only team that could see the tower, because nobody could fly yet. And Gara could use his Sand Eye Jutsu because even Team 8 says the only reason they found the tower so early was because of their tracking prowess, which Gara didn't need because he could just float an eye above the forest and see exactly where they needed to go. And on top of that, they can see other teams, which the only other 2 ninja we know of that had anything close to that were Ino and Neji, of which only one of them can actually see his target, and even then it has to be in his field of vision. He can't just change the angle at which he sees. So I think that Gar basically just had a crazy hack that nobody else had, and it allowed his team to find the tower, track any nearby teams, and even know which team had which scroll. All he needed was for them to pull it out. But moving back to the written exam for a second, seemingly nobody was prepared for that, and Ibiki himself even says it wasn't really important. And if that's the case, does that mean that either most ninja have a bare bones education, or is every student leaving the academy with a full-on diploma level of knowledge at like the age of 12? I'd say the second option, but it doesn't feel like that. And the questions on the test were supposed to be hard, so the fact that Sakura was the only one shown to not be struggling, are we supposed to take that to mean Shikamaru struggled? I don't think he did, which is why I'm wondering why Ino did anything, and of course it was just to show off what she could do, but Shikamaru could have easily used Shadow Possession to just do Ino and Choji's test, which is probably what he did for Choji, because we never see how Choji would deal with a test like this. And for that matter, how would Sakura have dealt with it had she not known the answers or just realized she was supposed to cheat? Like, Sasuke would have had the only way of actually gaining information, because even Naruto was too scared to actually cheat. But let's get to the finals finally. Question: what does the winner of the chunin exams get? Seriously, because if you lose, you can still become a chunin, and even if you won, you were already basically guaranteed to be a chunin anyway, so what would the prize be? Money? Maybe, but unless your village is strapped for missions, would you really care about that? Especially if you were from a great family of a village. And in that case, you're basically guaranteed chunin, if not jonin, so what would make you care about the chunin exams? Well, you probably wouldn't, and I think this was the case for the Leafs, since I feel like there would have been way more Leaf representation had all the teams that could have participated did. I mean, we see grown men in that room. If that doesn't tell you that everyone else doesn't care, I don't know what will. Actually, I do. Everybody fell asleep. And I don't mean that it was a snooze fest. I mean, every ninja we see not asleep is assigned to be there or participated in the previous test. There are no plainclothes ninjas who just had the day off and decided to go see the finals. And we know that because Shikamaru escapes Kabuto's jutsu on his own, and stick with me here, we know Sakura escapes the jutsu as well because she had more than exceptional chakra control. And it's implied that Shikamaru's intelligence is what saved him. But how if he doesn't have the same level of chakra control as Sakura? And we could have that debate, but honestly, I don't think it's close, even at this point. No, I think what really happened is that Shikamaru was just above the threshold of chakra control needed to escape the jutsu, and that checks out when you realize Shikamaru probably has the best chakra control on his team, and Ino and Choji both fell asleep. But you mean to tell me there were no other plainclothes Genin or already chunin at the finals with a Shikamaru level of chakra control? Because I would assume all jonin and most chunin would be on hand at the very least, and since Tenten and Ino were off duty, considering they sustained minimal damage, it makes sense at least that some ninja had the day off, and none of them chose to come to the finals. I bet that's why Hiruzen and most of the Jonin were okay with rookie teams taking the test. As a matter of fact, the only person that objected was Iruka, and he only objected because Naruto was a part of that group. The Chunin exams were so down that after that year, the villages did everything in their power to revamp the Chunin exams into almost this game show-like experience, to the point where when we reach Boruto, the only real recognizable portion of the exam is the tournament, and even then, the fights seemed way more subdued and showcasey, which it kind of was a showcase, I guess, but you get what I mean. From the very beginning, the Chunin exams felt like it was a very insular thing, like from no one saying a word about it until it was actively happening to not even really showing the aftermath or conclusion of the exams. It was just kind of a backdrop for something entirely different. But it was executed pretty well, so I have no complaints. Shout out Life Plus, and if you want to become a member, it's only $1, and every little bit makes me holler, so like, subscribe, and let me know down in the comments what you thought of my little theory and the Chunin exams as a whole. I hope you enjoyed the video, because I appreciate you watching, so until next time, peace.
That thunder on me clap, make a nigga think before he act. Have a nigga dying on his back, then we double back. Shooters leaving rubber where you at, that's why niggas never wanna match.